Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joar, and today is Thursday, August 21st, 2025, and I'm here with the lovely JoJo. Hi, JoJo. How are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm pretty great. It's nice to finally have you on the show. I'm glad we connected again at Unpacked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's Pixel Week. The Pixels came out, so obviously that's what we're going to talk about. You have them in hand right now. Mine is sitting at FedEx. I need to go pick them up. I believe that hands-on we're done, so we are allowed to talk about first impressions. Yeah. And okay, so what's your initial kind of gut feeling about these phones right now?
I have mixed feelings because I am a Pixel girl through and through. Those are my favorite phones. But I feel like this year, I don't know, it's kind of like the same as last year, except we got some upgrades and some downgrades.
Yeah.
And I have an issue with some of those.
Well, tell me, start with the things you don't like, and then we'll talk about the things you like.
Well, the first thing that I didn't like was the fact that it's eSIM only.
Oh my God, I'm so on board with you on that. I can have an entire podcast about that right now.
Oh my God. I mean, I guess most people won't care because, they're not.
That's an excuse.
Phones.
That is an excuse we're making to make ourselves feel better. It's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. Yes, not on an Android phone, at least.
Right. And, this sets a precedent because I'm pretty sure this will prompt, the next.
Samsung's absolutely doing
going to do it
next
year. Absolutely. Yeah. This is just going to be
This is the beginning of the end. We're done.
Yeah. Thanks, Apple.
Yeah, thanks. I have a whole rant about that, but I want to keep it because I want to know if there's anything else that's rubbing you the wrong way, because that to me is the biggest one.
Yeah, that's the biggest one for me as well. And I think just, I think that's pretty much it as far as the downsides. As far as upgrades, from what I can see so far, I like the little software, tweaks that they did here and there, but I feel like it's pretty much all the same as last year. We got one extra camera on the base model, and but the storage is still 128.
Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer.
Much the same. Mm-hmm. I was actually trying to figure out which one I was going to use daily, and even though I don't really like big phones because I have smaller hands, I'm going to have to go with the XL because that one has 256. Because 128 is just
right. I mean, that's for the review units. But if you were to buy it, would you spend the extra money on the Pixel 10 and upgrade to the 256 tier?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay. But you'd be happy with that, right? It's not because for me, there's other reasons to pick the XL beyond the battery size and the display size, and that's charging speeds, right?
The charging speeds.
So 45 watt on the XL versus 30 watt on the others for wired, and 25 watt Qi 2.2 for the wireless only on the XL, and the other one's a 15 Qi 2.0. So, I mean, again, I'm nerding out here. The average person's not going to notice a big difference between 15 or 25 watt charging in most common scenarios, especially wireless, unless you're comparing to like an Oppo phone with 50 watt charging, like a OnePlus with 50 watt charging, you're not going to, wireless, you're not going to notice. And then, of course, you need a dedicated charger, which is not a Qi 2 charger. So blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about this because I think this is the biggest, most exciting part of the Pixels. MagSafe, aka Qi 2 with magnets, not Qi 2 ready.
Pixel Snap.
Correct. And they call it Pixel. Are you excited about that, or does it kind of meh for you?
I actually, because like I said, the small hand thing, I'm always putting a pop socket on my phones, always putting a pop socket. And then I use the magnetic one. So this is going to allow me to do that because I don't have to buy an extra case just to have a magnet behind it. So I could put my pop socket on my phone. So I like that, and that I could use it with all the stuff that I already have. I have a lot of MagSafe stuff because I do, switch back and forth between iPhone and Android. So yeah, it's very exciting, but I think they probably made that too much a focus of the whole launch. The fact that they added magnets instead of actually giving us like legit upgrades, like better cameras.
Well, let's actually talk about that because I think there's one legit upgrade in here that I think really is going to matter for those of us like you. I'm a super long time Pixel. Like I've had every Nexus and Pixel phone since Nexus 1. And I have, in the old days, I would buy them. Now I would say starting with the second Nexus, they were all review units. So every Pixel I've used has been a review unit since day one. And I skipped some generations, even though I had the devices, because I'm very lazy at upgrading. So to give you an example, I went from Pixel 1, for sure I went to Pixel 2 because I wanted OIS, and that was a big disappointment for me on Pixel 1 after coming from a bunch of Nexuses with OIS on the camera. I'm a big mobile photography person. For me, having stabilization, optical is critical. Yes, all the algorithms in the world are awesome these days, especially. I'm on board, but it gives me the best hardware you can, right? So then Pixel 2, I went to 3. I went from 2XL to 3XL. And then I was on that for a long time. You know why? Because I hated Pixel 4. Because it's not that I hated it in principle. It's a Pixel. How can you hate a Pixel? It's just that the Soli radar instead of a fingerprint sensor, none of the apps supported it. So I have so many critical apps in my everyday. I run a business like you. So I'm like, constantly in banking and other things. And I like to use a fingerprint for that. Or some sort of I'm happy to use, Face ID for that. But at the time, it was not supported by the apps. So it's like you had this great feature to unlock with your face, but then you couldn't use any of your banking apps unless you typed a PIN in or something. And it's just annoying. So I skipped 4 altogether. Then 5 came out and I'm like, too small. I don't want a small phone. I also want a flagship phone. I don't want a, Snapdragon 765, which was a great chip at the time, mid-range chip, but it felt very mid-range. The phone itself was great though. So then I waited for 6. And of course, 6, I went to the big Pro, right? And so I actually kept my 3XL for 3 years. At the end, it was falling apart. I don't know if you've ever heard of this on Reddit or whatever. There was a manufacturing defect on the 3XL, which manifested itself later in the life of your phone, where the Bluetooth module would be intermittent. The chip would the solder joints would kind of fail over time, only on that chip. And it was only affecting Bluetooth, like some components on the board. And I got that. And so what you would do, this is a funny story. What you would do is you would squeeze the phone and it would work again for a few days.
I do not remember that at all.
But towards the end, I had to squeeze harder and harder. Guess what happened? I cracked my screen by squeezing too hard. I'm a giant. Anyway, so it was hilarious because I'm like, oh my God, that's when I finally was like, okay, I've had this Pixel 6 here for a few months and I've been too lazy to switch over and I really need to. So I did. And then I had the 6 for a while. I skipped the 7, even though I used the 7 for my photography and my work. It wasn't my daily driver because so many apps to convert over. Then I went to the 8 and the 8 I didn't do the 9 for quite a while. I actually tried Pixel 9 Pro Fold as my main because I wanted a folding phone, but then the camera wasn't quite good enough for my needs because I do a lot of my product photography with my Pixel, and I really like the best possible camera for that. Because I don't just do phones and close-ups. Like most of my devices, I can shoot at 2x on a Pixel. That gives you like that nice, get the depth of field, but you don't get too much of that kind of like fisheye look because, you're punching in, you lose a bit of resolution, but with good light, it's fine because of the algorithms. Problem is, I also do car photography because I review cars, right? I review EVs and stuff. And then I need that flexibility of being able to punch into 5 times, 10 times. And then the telephoto it was good, but not good enough compared to like an XL or compared to like a Galaxy S25 Ultra or like any Chinese phones with a great telephoto on them. So I used to carry an S24, 23, 24, 25 Ultra over the years because I get all of those from Samsung as my car content capture device.
Car photography.
And now I really want to consolidate. So last year I used the 9XL for that, as well as the S24 Ultra and S25 Ultra. But then I realized, I do want a folding phone. For me, I've told this story before. I was not sold, I love folding phones, the idea, no matter what form factor. But I was never sold on the tablet form factor, like the fold form factor, because Samsung's basic design was broken. This remote control, tall and narrow.
Candy bar
it never
design.
worked for me. And it wasn't until the Chinese started making some really sexy standard aspect ratio front, like 21:9, thinner devices that I was like, aha. And the one that the total aha moment, which completely made me pivot to being a total fold person, was the OnePlus Open, right? So of course, by that point, Pixel 9 Pro Fold, the OnePlus Open, I've lived with the OnePlus Open in one pocket and the Pixel 8 Pro in the other for an entire year almost. I'm like, I'm ready to merge, right? So I put my SIM in the 9 Pro Fold. I set it up as my main phone, and it lasted like 1 month because it's like, I love it. It's great, but I can't do my photography the way I want. So I now still have to carry another phone around. So then I decided, you know what? Let's go back to the 8 Pro. It's set up. And then I was like, oh, I can't do that. That's silly. And so I went to 9 Pro XL. And so now, and we're going to talk about that because this is the thing. This brings us to the crux of the problem is the eSIM. So, but before we dive into that, I want you to hear your thoughts on G5 because I think that's the other thing. Like we've talked about MagSafe, whatever, Pixel Snap, Qi 2 with magnets, because that's the thing, right? Oppo, OnePlus, Samsung all support Qi 2 on their current phones. All of them, like the flagships do, but they don't have the magnets. You need a case for the magnets. To me, that's not really Qi 2. Like that's cheating. Like ready doesn't mean what,
Qi 2 ready is the means nothing.
I'm really happy that Google did this because again, Samsung's going to do it next year now, 100%.
Yeah.
In a way, this is good. It's bad for the eSIM. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's good because it is exactly what Google has always done with Nexus and Pixel, which is show the way, right? Show the way of what an Android phone should be like. But what are your thoughts on G5? Because I'm actually really excited to see what G5 feels like.
I am really excited. I haven't had time to like play around with the phone, like to see how the performance is.
Yeah, you just got it yesterday, right?
I just got it yesterday afternoon. I mean, I barely even logged into all my accounts. So I haven't really like gotten down to like the nitty gritty and done benchmarks and all that stuff, which I intend to doing that tonight. But I'm hearing like great things about it. And, just this one is TSMC, right? This one is
so there are two things that I think that got me excited because I'm still very suspicious about Tensor. Like I've never liked Tensor. I'd rather take a MediaTek Dimensity 9000 series of some kind over that any day of the week. They're a sponsor, disclaimer, but that has nothing to do with it because I'm also a huge fan of Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 series, right? So it's just, to me, it's like they've never really hit that flagship level performance that I expect.
With Tensor,
and it's not really about the speed of the phone or gaming. That's not what I do. It's more about the responsiveness over time, things like thermals, things like efficiency and battery life. And so what's got me really excited about the G5 is it's not just that it's the first chip from Google that's completely Google IP. There's no more Exynos bits in there. That's good. That's good news. Of course, that's a first gen thing, so it's going to be a bit janky. I'm willing to live with that. But the big news here, do you remember the difference between the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1?
Yeah, I do.
One was Samsung Foundries. The other one was TSMC. There is actually no major difference in the actual hardware of the chip other than the way it was manufactured. And guess what? Night and day battery life and thermals.
The thermals is extremely important.
And especially on Pixel, it's always sucky, the thermals on Pixel. So I'm really looking forward to see, like, that's the first thing I'm going to run because, I'm writing the reviews for hothardware.com. I'm their main phone reviewer. So I've got when I get these phones tomorrow, I got my work cut out because, it's like, 3 or 4 days before the embargo. But the point is, I'm going to run some benchmarks, especially on the XL because it has a larger vapor chamber than the other two. And I want to see how it does for sustained performance because that's, to me, the big thing. I don't play games myself, but I'm one of those hyper-productive people. If I'm at CES on that phone, every pixel that I use in a, kind of intense situation overheats in my hand. And it's gotten better.
For me, my test is taking it outside because I do live in Florida.
There you go. So my point is, like, for me, it's just like, thermals are like the biggest thing that I've had issues with, especially when the radio is trying to connect and have bad signal or something.
Everything slows down. Everything
it's just bad.
To a halt.
So let's see what happens, right? And then I think the other thing I'm excited about is, it's their own IP. So that means that the chip is now going to develop in its own parallel universe of Google awesomeness, right? And I feel like G6 next year is going to be probably the one that, is going to make a big difference on like things like benchmarks to kind of get closer to what MediaTek and Qualcomm are doing. So I don't expect the benchmark numbers to be particularly exciting this year, except for maybe thermal sustainable performance. But what I want to do is, use it for a few weeks to kind of get a feel for, like, as you said, go outside in the heat. I'm in California. It can get hot. Depends where you are. But, on a sunny day, the phone's sitting on a table. It's shining sunlight right on it. It's going to get hot. You want to know that you can pick up that phone and get productive, right?
Yeah.
So
you do travel a lot. I mean, I don't travel that often. So for me, it's basically just day-to-day use, going outside, go to the park, may just head out to like Disney and stuff like that, see how it holds up.
For me, it's, those days when I'm on like 2 or 3 planes in a row and I've got to deal with my boarding passes and my hotel reservations and, triaging emails and text messages and, Discords and telegrams and Google chats with all my various, because I'm a freelance. So I've got, discussions with different editors at different times. And of course there's, Slack. And I mean, it's a nightmare. My phone is, and I filter my notifications. I'm not that person who instantly gets notified by everything and distracted by everything because I know how to manage that. But my phones are heavy lifters. And right now, I get to the end of the day on my 9 Pro XL at about 20% most days. If I have a busy day, I have to charge it on a flight somewhere along the way. Like if it's a normal work day, I'm 20 to 30% at the end of the day. If it's one of those travel days, I basically have to plug it in at some point. Especially since on planes, pro tip, on planes, I connect to the Wi-Fi because I have a subscription. And in fact, it's free because of my airline. And I connect my Pixel to the Wi-Fi, and then I turn on Wi-Fi sharing, aka tethering. And then all my devices automatically, my laptop, everything that's on my person, in my bag, whatever, just connects to my Pixel. That then, so it becomes the router, the gateway to my little personal area network on the plane. And it's really great. But can you imagine what that does to battery life on a 12-hour flight? You pretty much have to keep...
Do you plug it in to charge?
Yeah, just leave it plugged in. Yeah, basically. And that's a bad thing, right? Like, obviously, you don't want to do that.
So they say. I really don't listen to that. I'm always plugging in my phone. I know it's bad, but I'm like, I get extremely anxious when I see that the battery is...
No, but I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, for me, it's like, it's one thing if I leave it plugged in my desk for 2 hours. It's another thing. It's 12 hours on a plane. Like, it cannot be good for the phone, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's too
and
long.
that's why, thankfully, we have those new settings where it charges to 80%. Now we can do that. The problem is, I wish it was more like, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you know more about this, but I wish it was a toggle in the quick settings where I can go like 80% only. And so it's manual. Right now, it seems to try to learn you. I'm like, there's no pattern to my life whatsoever. Like, don't try AI. Don't be stupid. I want to do it manually. I want to be able to say, charge to 100% normally. And then one day, the moment I decided, 80%. And then what would happen is if I'm below 80 and I'm plugged in, it would crawl up to 80 slowly, right? And if I'm above 80, it would decrease down to 80 and stay there at 80. Right? That would be my ideal setting. I think I can do that, but I have to go down to the battery, like I want a quick setting for that. I just want
yeah, you can do it, but you have to, it's like 3-4 steps instead of just a quick toggle. And
so
we're busy people. We need quick things. We need just.
I'm such a demanding person. Really, that's what it goes down to.
These phones are too expensive for you not to be able to demand what you want.
Right. So in terms of the rest of the specs, so industrial design wise, we're looking at exactly the same language as last year, which I like. I'm very happy with that. Like, I'm giving them a break for a year because honestly, this could stay like the iPhone in a way, right? The fact that what's changing this year, we know that, but a little bit. But like, I'm also an iPhone user, a little bit. I don't have a SIM installed permanently, but I carry an iPhone around. That's the one recording backup audio right now here on my desk. But my point is, it's like, I like the fact that Apple in a way has created this consistency, even though part of me is like, oh my God, it's terrible. Like, it's so boring, right? But in this case, I think the design isn't that boring, and living with it for 2 years is perfectly okay with me.
Yeah, I mean,
plus the colors, especially on the Pixel 10. Guys, if you're
Which was your favorite? Which was your favorite color?
I think the lime or that blue. Indigo, whatever it's called.
The indigo. Okay.
The super bright blue 10. That looks like a, Z Fold 7 blue.
I got my nails done yesterday.
Oh my God, look at that.
In honor of indigo.
Look at that. So folks, in case you're wondering what we're talking about, I know some of you might not know this, but there is a video version of this podcast. It's on Patreon only. And, you get it eventually on my YouTube. But my point is, if you want to see it, you can see it a day before the audio version. You can get the podcast in advance, guys. Instead of getting it on Sunday, the audio free one, you can get it on Saturday if you are willing to help me on Patreon. So patreon.com/TNKGRL, Tankerl without the vowels, like all my handles. Go there, and for $5 a month, every week, a day in advance, you get the podcast. And the best part is if we go over time and we get crazy rant about eSIMs or whatever that's too long to put on the regular audio version, you get that. You get that extra content. So please help me out if you can. And then you can also see JoJo's amazing nails. Bring them up. Bring them up. Oh, yeah. So good. And also, it matches your shirt and also kind of matches the general vibe. I know. And I love that you can't see it, folks, in the video because it's going to be cut off when I put us side by side. But one of the shelves behind JoJo has the same greenish hue as the microphone pop cover on her mic. It's really amazing. You're very coordinated. I love it.
Yeah, I love color. Like, I like phones with color.
I'm very happy with Pixel 10 colors.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, really obsidian and porcelain, I'm kind of over.
I did get the porcelain one, but you can't complain, so reviewing it. Yeah. But if I were buying it, this time around, I would actually go with the Moonstone. I'm kind of curious about that color.
Okay, so for the XL, right? You would
for
get
the XL,
yeah. So the XL doesn't have, that's the problem. The Pro and the two Pros don't have the cool colors, except for maybe Moonstone, but I don't know if Moonstone's that cool. Maybe it looks better in person. It doesn't seem that exciting.
The other one is Jade, and that's like a lighter.
I'm okay with Jade. It's very, it reminds me a lot of like the kind of Taiwan color, evergreen from the Northwest. If you're in Seattle, everything's that color. If you're in Taipei on Taiwan, everything's kind of that color. Look, I wish we had something more exciting like this copper color that's rumored for Apple is on the Pros. Now we're talking. I mean, I'm not an orange copper fan in general, but just that it just looks really cool. And I'd be willing to try that out for a year.
Did you see that fake invite that was going around that was matching that color?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So basically, to me, the design and colors, I have no issues with that. Again, base storage is a bit of a bummer on the 10 and 10 Pro. The 10 Pro XL is 256 base, which is, I think 128, we're over that. I think I know Google wants to cloud everything. It's their MO, but come on, 128 in 2025 is chintzy at best. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah,
so
I agree.
If you're listening, Google.
We know you're listening, Google.
I'm watching you, Google. Give us those crazy colors and give us more than 128 gigs of base storage.
Give us the exciting colors.
And don't even get me started on the eSIMs. So G5, great stuff. I think that's going to be good. MagSafe, whatever, Pixel Snap G2, great stuff. Cameras, talk briefly. I'm actually excited about trying the 10 out. Here's the reason. Telephoto, of course, has been added. Some people are really bummed because the ultra wide is now going from that 48 megapixel down to a 13. But here's the thing you have to understand. And of course, the main camera is going from 50 to 48. Hear me out. If any of you, and you have, JoJo, used the 9A, right? You reviewed it. I reviewed it. The 9A is essentially the same cameras as the Pixel 10. Oh, yours is a beautiful one. So it's the same cameras, except you add the 10.8 megapixel telephoto from the 9 Pro Fold, 10 Pro Fold to that roster. So take the 9 Pro Fold and the 9A, blend the camera systems, and you get the 10. And honestly, it is a downgrade, I'm not going to lie, but it's not a downgrade when you consider that telephoto was the Achilles heel of the regular Pixel. And you can only do so much, even with things like, super res zoom. And I don't think that new algorithm they have applies to the Pixel 10. They have a crazy algorithm they can zoom into 50 or 100 times. Yeah. But it's only on the Pros, I believe. I actually don't even think the Fold will have that, because you need the bigger telephoto, the bigger sensor. But the reality is we're going to get 5x and probably 10x that are way better than the 5x and 10x we were getting on a Pixel 9 or 8 or 7 or 6. So if you're looking for, kind of a budget option, you want to save a bit of money, I think the 10, especially with those colors, is really going to be interesting this year. And the only differences here also are in the difference in battery. So the 10 has a slightly bigger battery than the 10 Pro, but it's marginal. But the other thing that's interesting is the display. So the 10 gets a 1080p panel, which is LTPS AMOLED, whereas the 10 Pro gets a slightly bigger, slightly brighter, slightly higher resolution. I think it's 1280 by something pixels. Kind of mid-res between Quad HD and 1080p. So you do get a little more. Your $200 actually go a little ways here. But the question is, for a lot of people, does that matter? I'm not convinced. I think that the Pixel 10 should be a great seller.
Yeah,
your thoughts on that? Yeah,
I think more people are going to go for the 10 than the 10 Pro, unless you really, really want a Pro phone. Just because, like I said, the colors, that's a big plus right there.
Yeah.
If you're a regular person, not a tech reviewer, and you want a phone that looks good, you're going to go for the 10.
100%. And honestly, I think the other thing to keep in mind here is that they kept the prices the same. We got to give them props for that, because in this economy right now, I was fully expecting them to pull like $50 more across the board, some kind of BS like that.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And, in that sense, I can't bet too mad about the 128 gigs of base storage. Like, it's not for me. But at the same time, I get all my review units from Google, so I'm going to go with whatever they sent me.
Yeah.
Probably the 10 Pro XL at this point. Actually, no, I won't be using that phone. I'll tell you why. I will not be using any of these phones as my daily phones. eSIM.
Because eSIM.
I am not doing that. I am not doing that.
That's such a shame.
I'm telling you what I'm doing, though. There is a backup plan.
Yeah, I heard from people yesterday who had the phone in their cart. And as soon as they figured out that it didn't have eSIM, no order, cancel order.
Here's the trick, folks. There is a solution to this problem. It's the same solution that there is to Apple's problem. And I'm in a very particularly great situation to solve this problem. The Canadian model has a SIM tray, has exactly the same 5G bands as the US model. Because, and this is true of Apple's phones as well, including the 16E, the reason for this is because it's my theory, and I think it's accurate, and I've talked about it on the show before, but you might not know this, JoJo. iPhone 14 came out and removed the SIM tray, but that was really just Apple being spiteful, because physically there was an empty space in the phone. Okay? But their engineering team at Apple is very strong. We all know this. So the next year with 15 line, and then after that, the 16 line, they use that space up. So they actually relocated the millimeter wave antenna on the iPhones where the SIM tray used to be, which is really smart, because here's the thing. Sense. The only model of iPhone sold anywhere in the world with millimeter wave is the US model. So if we already removed the SIM, like they prepped us basically for it by, being spiting us with the 14 by removing it. And then the next year they're like, okay, let's use that to our advantage. Why they did in the first place? Maybe because they were planning ahead. Maybe because they're in bed with the carriers, especially Verizon, who wants millimeter wave on everything. It's the only carrier that cares, really. The bottom line is Google is doing exactly the same. From what I understand, the reason the Canadian model has the exact same bands, but no millimeter wave and a SIM tray instead, is because the millimeter wave antenna on the Pixels is going where the SIM tray would be. Or some of that space is used up by some of the extra components on the board. But here's the thing, at least for Apple, I don't know I'd have to check the spec sheets on Google's phones, the 10 series. But on Apple's 16 series, there is 4 SKUs in the world. 4 different models essentially that look the same. There is a North America US model. It's only US, it's actually not North America. And that's the one without a SIM tray and with millimeter wave. Then there is a Canada Japan model. Believe it or not, it's only for those 2 countries. It has the exact same bands, 5G, all of them, 4G, like the 600 megahertz for T-Mobile is on there. For for these 2 markets, without millimeter wave with a SIM tray. Then there is a rest of world model that covers everything else except China and the US and Canada and Japan. And that's like Europe, anything that's Middle East, India, East, Southeast Asia, like Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, all that. And then there's a China only model, which has obviously some TDD and FDD bands and all the special bands for China. And all the other phones have SIM trays except the US model. So that's where we're at with Apple. And who knows how long it'll be before they remove the SIM tray on the foreign phones. But I've already looked into it, talked to my colleagues. As you know, I spent some of my time in Canada. So I've talked to my colleagues who are journalists here in Canada who cover the Pixel, and their spec sheet has the SIM tray, has the same band. So I'm not sure there's 4 SKUs for the Pixel. There might be only 3. But there is a SKU that has the 5G bands for North America that has a SIM tray. So if you come to Canada, just be aware our taxes are higher and the exchange rate's going to be a bit of a shock when you see the price. But remember, you got to translate that to US money. And the exchange rate is 1.5 roughly, or 1.4 or something like that. So buy it in Canada. It'll just, do you really care about millimeter wave? Even on Verizon, do you really care about millimeter wave? No, you do not. You're a nerd like us. You do not care. This is not important to you. The 3 times you're going to be in a stadium and it's going to matter, you're not going to care. So my advice is, if you are in Canada for any reason, first of all, come to Canada. We're nice here. We have healthcare and stuff. Secondly, get an iPhone, get a Pixel, buy here, have a SIM tray, enjoy life. So my goal is, I've actually reached out to Google PR Canada and requested a review unit for 10 Pro XL. If I get it, that will be my main phone. If I do not get one, I will trade in a phone that I have that I bought with my own money. Because I still buy some phones very rarely, like most of the iPhones, to be honest. And I will trade that in for a Canadian model Pixel 10 Pro XL and make that my main, because I'm very excited. I think this is not a generation I can skip because of the G5 and the MagSafe. Like the cameras, honestly, because I'm using an XL, it's going to be the same, essentially. A lot of those features are going to trickle down to the 9 and the 8
to
and stuff.
People who pay for the I don't know, they keep renaming it the AI tier that you pay $20 a month for.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they trickle down to Google Photos and
Ultra, isn't that the Ultra tier? I want to say it's the Ultra tier.
I forget what it's called. Yeah, I'm subscribed. I should know what I'm paying for.
I'm getting it for free through Google I/O somehow for 3 months at least.
I got it, but I think it just ran out because yesterday I got an email that I'm being charged.
No, I know how I got it. I got a Lenovo Chromebook 14 Plus, which is the super high-end Chromebook that kind of replaces the Pixel Book, and it's a MediaTek Compagno Ultra chip, which is essentially a Dimensity 9400 Plus, but designed for Chromebooks. It's essentially the same as like a Snapdragon X series chip, and that laptop is amazing, and I'm a big fan of Chromebooks. And so it came, and I logged into it with and it says, "Hey, would you like because this is a kind of considered an AI capable laptop, they want to demonstrate it." So they gave me, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, a year.
I don't know if you know, but I did get my start in tech journalism through Chromebooks.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. So are you still a big Chromebook fan and user?
I do have one right behind me.
Do you have that? Do you have that Lenovo, by the way?
No, not that Lenovo. I got an Acer.
Okay, well, I'll that Lenovo is the cream of the crop right now. I will see if I can connect you if you don't have a relationship with Lenovo, because they're pretty great. Anyway, so I don't know. I feel like I'm very happy, honestly. Again, I'm reserving a 10-minute slot here for an eSIM rant, but other than that, I am very happy with what we have. I think that this is the G5 is going to be a major step forward. I feel like the thermals and battery life are going to be better. Are they going to be as good as a Qualcomm phone like the Z? Well, the Z Fold is not the greatest reference for that, but say like a S25 Ultra or something, or like one of the new MediaTek phones that I have, probably not. But I'm okay with that. I think I'm never going to expect it to be the most competitive, but I want better than what I have. And I think we're going to get that. And then, I think for the Pixel 10, those colors, the camera, even though the ultra wide is a downgrade, I think overall it's a net positive, right?
Yeah. I think that once you put it all together, I mean, it's a Pixel. It's going to take great photos. It's going to take great photos regardless. I know that hardware is important, but I think that,
well, that's the other thing, right? We're not Google talking Magic about that, but it's the Google Magic. It's the software, yeah, right?
The software.
This editing with describing things in the photo editor is pretty amazing. I'm torn by that because I'm also like, a mobile photography buff and I like to tweak my photos to death, but it'll be interesting for some quick things,
Yeah. So one thing I was wondering when I saw during the event yesterday, when they did the example, when she was saying remove the bag or remove, this from the photo, it made the change, but it didn't put a watermark on it. I thought they for sure would put a watermark that it was AI. So
from what I understand, when I was briefed by Google, and I could be wrong, but I think they told us that they were using that content authentication thing in the background, that metadata. Mm-hmm. So I think if you look at the metadata, you can tell it's been AI tagged. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what they're doing.
Okay.
Because you're right, because Samsung adds that little watermark, which I think is kind of annoying because for my professional photos, like if I'm taking a picture of a car, right? And all I want to do is remove that tiny little puddle in front of the car. Like I'm not altering the car. The car is the subject.
It's still your photo. I mean, you took the photo.
But adding that watermark means now I have to crop the photo, right? Or I have to go into Google and use Google's AI to remove the watermark, which by the way, I have done.
Oh, wow.
No, because here's the thing. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Some AI algorithms do a better job at removing some things than others. Since I have access to all these phones, like the Oppo, OnePlus, Realme universe has their own AI removal and editing tools, generative, that are really, really good. Actually, I'd say possibly better than Samsung's. So Samsung's, I think, is currently the best for, like, I don't think that Google's quite as good because Google doesn't give you quite the same level of flexibility as Samsung. But I think Oppo and OnePlus and Realme are a little higher than, but they are also in some areas worse. Everything's in Google Photos for me. So I just shuffle around. I can go like, okay, which phone do I have on me today that I can kind of create?
So you have like 5 different versions of the same photo.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, and then sometimes I'll be like, I'll edit on a Samsung and then I'll be like, oh, the watermark. And then I'll put it in on an Oppo or on a Pixel afterwards to remove the watermark. I know it's terrible. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
I know. Trying to think what else I wanted to talk about on these.
What did you think of the event? The actual event?
I didn't watch it because I hate is a strong word. I don't want to sound like a Nelly, okay? But I'm old and cranky. So the bottom line is I don't want to see a tech event that is meant for mainstream users. They've always been cringy to me. The little bit I saw was cringy. I'm not interested. It's like Samsung. They've been doing cringy tech events since, Galaxy S3, basically. And, when I'm invited, of course I go and I attend and I sit there and I bite my tongue for the whole time. But it doesn't bring me any joy. To me, it's like when we went to Motorola, the Razr this year, right? So they briefed us on the Razr, but it wasn't a briefing. It was a performance. It was a stage show. And I'm like, I came for tech specs. Like I have a job to do. Okay. Like I don't mind you doing a dog and pony show for the average consumer out there, but don't make us sit through this whole thing before you give us the tech rundown. Give us the tech rundown before in advance, a secret meeting or whatever, which they did, right? So I can't be mad at Google. I'm just saying, like, an example was, and Samsung did the same. They gave us stuff, most of it in advance or close to the event. But yeah, Moto this year, I'm like, no, dog and pony shows are not my thing. I'm over them, especially when it's like AI. They say, and look, I like Jimmy Fallon. I think, but actually, I was thinking that he would be a bit nerdier because, you know, in the past, you've seen him, like Josh Topolsky's gone on the show and stuff. And years ago, this is a decade ago and stuff, when Josh was still the editor-in-chief of The Verge. But like, I'm like, Fallon can be nerdy, but I think in this case, it was a little watered down,
just,
you know, like you can tell he got paid and Google tell him what to do. And I'm just like,
just be really excited. Just clap at everything and do your comedy thing.
And it's this whole AI, everything like,
yeah,
it's like, come on, guys.
It was definitely geared towards, you know, just
anyway. So I did not watch it. I don't have any regrets. I did get briefed. I got the phone sitting at FedEx for when I get home tomorrow in San Francisco, and I'll be putting them through their paces. There are other products, though. We should talk about those. Let's talk about the what are they called? Pixel Snap accessories, real quick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on these? Like, so there's what, 3 of them right now?
I ordered one of them, which is just a ring, because, you know.
Did yours come? Did your phone come with any of them in the box?
It came with a case.
Just the case, but not actually the actual puck thing.
No, just the Pixel Snap case.
Okay, well, the ring
for the XL phone.
The ring stand is really cheap, which is okay because you actually have to have. Does the ring stand actually come with the electronic part, or do you have to buy that separately?
It's just like a pop socket. That's all it is.
No, but you know the stand.
Oh, the one that
the stand looks like you have to put the puck in the stand. So does it come when you buy the stand? Does it come with the puck, or do you have to buy the puck?
I think it's separate. Yeah, I think
Jesus.
It's completely separate. Yeah.
Yeah, but the pop socket thing is really cool, actually.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting. I don't think I'm going to get any of the chargers because, like I said, I already have all this MagSafe stuff, and I don't want to have I don't have space. I
might get the stand and their puck just because right now I have a Pixel stand, an old one, and it's not going to do 25 watt, and I don't think I have any MagSafe or Qi 2.2 25 watt accessories, and I want the faster charging.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I charge my Pixel on my desk.
That's the thing. Charger.
So I might if they didn't include it, I might spend the money on that. Are they color matched? Well, the pop sockets are, but are the actual pucks? No, they're gray.
I only saw one, which is at Moonstone. That's the only color I saw in the Google store.
Did they give you cases for all 3 phones then?
No, they only gave me one. Porcelain.
Jesus Christ. For which one?
For the XL.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm getting, so I don't know my colors.
And I went to buy because I'm like, okay, I'll buy cases because I like cases. So I went to buy them, and they're all in back order. There's nothing available.
Well, like, folks, stay tuned for next week when I'll let you know what cases I got, and what accessories, if any. Okay, cool. Well, I think this is a good start. I mean, there's so much MagSafe stuff out there that who cares, right? Like, it's covered basically.
I got a third-party case companies that will probably reach out and
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what I get.
What are your thoughts on the watch and the buds?
I like the idea of the watch being more, is it like flatter or is it more domed?
Yeah, so the display actually waterfalls now around. That's really, really cool. So it's a plastic OLED, obviously, but it goes more to the edge. There's less bezel, basically.
Yeah, like I have the 3,
me too.
I think I'm going to skip the 4, but I like that they made those little changes, but I'm not yet convinced with the battery life. That's like the one thing with the Pixel watches. There's so very little.
I do like their charging stand and the way they're doing that with the contacts on the edges.
Yeah, the side one. Yeah, because I have the regular one.
It charges faster supposedly too. So I think there's some, I honestly, I don't want to go out and buy one, but I'm definitely going to pester Google to see if because last year I pestered them and they did send me a Pixel 3, Watch 3. So hopefully I can get a Pixel Watch 4 just because.
I just want the watch to at least last me 2 days so I don't have to charge it every morning. Yeah. That's all I asked for.
100%.
Just a little bit more battery.
And then we're getting Pixel Buds 2A. And those are like their more affordable mid-range buds. And they now have ANC because the originals didn't. I'm never a fan of the Pixel Buds. I prefer buds with stems, especially the modern buds with stems, like think OnePlus buds or Nothing or Apple even with AirPods Pro, because you get better voice quality in my opinion. And I don't like
Yeah.
this weird thing where you spin it and has a little winglet to hold. No, none of that. I'm very like, I also don't like the sound quality of the Google Buds. They are okay. They're totally, here's the thing about the Google Buds. I think they're perfectly fine. If you like them and use them, great. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're not in any way standing out in sound quality, ANC, functionality, battery life, all the things that I look for in a pair of buds, because I'm a bit of a reluctant, cheap audiophile. So I tend to really be picky about how my devices sound. And even with the EQ and stuff, I can never get quite the sound I want out of the Pixel Buds. So I don't really care about the buds.
Yeah, I'm not an audiophile either. Like I'm not, my hearing is not that great. So I can't really tell you, oh, this sounds good, or
right.
I've listened to too much loud music in my lifetime. You know? my hearing is all screwed up.
Yeah.
But I did like that the Pixel Buds. I had the Pixel Buds Pro 1, not 2, and I did like it. Like when I had phone calls, it was really good at like canceling out the background noise. But
that's true of any modern earbuds, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And also the pricing isn't super competitive on Pixel Buds in general.
Yeah, they're like
pretty pricey.
$229, something like that. Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Anybody who's shopping for buds right now, OnePlus has their Buds 3 Pro for $149 on sale right now. They're normally $179, and they literally obliterate AirPods Pros. They obliterate anything in their price range at that price, especially at $30 off at $149. You can also get for $129, my review's coming up on Hot Hardware, the mid-range ones, which are the Buds 4, OnePlus Buds 4. They're almost as good, but you're losing wireless charging, you're losing the squeeze functionality where you can click on the buds by squeezing them instead of tapping, which I think is really nice. But yeah, OnePlus Buds 3 Pro right now for $149, absolutely the best thing you can get. And if you don't want those for some reason, because you don't like OnePlus or whatever, Nothing Buds are great. Nothing Ear. The 3 are just called Ear.
Like if you want it just for like
Nothing Ear A, the A as well, the kind of cheaper model. They're really affordable, sound absolutely sublime out of the box. You can EQ them if you want. Great ANC, great battery life. The only thing they're missing that the OnePlus Buds have is swipe for volume, which if you've ever used AirPods is a really nice feature to have. Honorable mention, if you can get them on sale, Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. I like them a lot, but they're really expensive. And they're still also better than AirPods Pro. So basically what I'm saying to you is, even if you're an iPhone Apple user, you should not get AirPods. They're not the best. They're overpriced.
Or Beats.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that. There you go. You got a mini.
Don't shame me.
I'm not shaming you. If you got them for free and you like them, look, here's the thing about earbuds. This is my opinion. Earbuds are highly personal. Sound quality, what you think subjectively is good sound, is extremely subjective. I come from working in the video game industry on audio, writing code for audio for 20 years before being a journalist. As I said, I'm an audiophile for sure, but I'm reluctant because I don't want to be labeled one. I have extremely picky taste in audio quality. I've got very, very good hearing. Despite years and years of not treating my ears super well, I somehow managed to keep my hearing well. And I hear the differences. I hear the difference between a high-end codec like LDAC versus AAC most of the time. Like I'm that annoying person. So my point is saying to you that if you are a picky audio person, heed my advice and get OnePlus or Nothing Buds here in North America, because there's other options from other companies in China that are always going to be better than what Apple and Samsung are doing. Although I have to say, Samsung's totally stepped up their games with the stems now, with the new Buds 3, the whole lineup. Very good job, especially on the pros. But anyway, so the watch, I think I'm really into the watch. The buds, no. Basically, that's that. And the Snap accessories, it's nice to have, but again, this is going to be the year of MagSafe, Qi 2, all the things. I think we're going to see even more now, and I guarantee you, Samsung is if they haven't already done it, they're reworking the S26 series right now for that. If the S26 series comes out and it says G2 ready, I am going to lose my freaking mind, JoJo. I am going to lose it.
That doesn't mean
I'm
anything.
also going to lose it when it has an eSIM. This S26 line. I know I'm going to lose it.
You think we're headed for a disappointment next year?
Not necessarily on this one, but 100% on the next one after that. Because maybe they're
done with the 26.
Maybe they were taken by surprise. Yeah, that's the other reason that I'll be bummed if they don't have MagSafe, like the magnets in the S26, G2 magnetic, the proper one. But I won't be too mad because at this point they must be ready with these phones, right?
Yeah.
So, but perhaps also, in the same way as Google added Pixel, Snap, whatever, like maybe the industry is ready and Samsung's ready and we're getting that too. And this is a big turning point where magnets everywhere and I'm so there for it. I cannot believe it's been since the iPhone 12 and it's taken this long.
It's so convenient. It's just, I love it.
Why? Why is it that it's taken this long? Anyhow, quick rant on the eSIM. I'm extremely mad about it. I don't want to monopolize the podcast. Last week I had a little rant. I made a little YouTube video. I'm going to post it, which is I cut out the part because it's anti-consumer. It is egregious. Okay? Yeah. I highly recommend you give your feedback to Google. You listeners here, you people are the nerds like us. You are the ones who will change SIMs. I travel. I need to swap SIMs country to country every time. Yeah, I got free roaming on T-Mobile up here too. But I do have a Canadian SIM when I'm in Canada because, it makes sense. So of course I have multiple phones. So, it's not a huge deal that I don't have a SIM tray that I can swap. But that's not the case for everyone. And you're going to say, well, why don't you do dual eSIM and you swap between them? Because I like to change phones. Okay, and here's the thing. Say you're on an airplane, right? Say you have a SIM for Canada and it's provisioned, and it's ready to go. You have a SIM for the US, it's provisioned, ready. You're flying between the two countries. All I have to do, imagine I'm not on Wi-Fi, I have no service, nothing. It's a short flight anyway, I don't really care. All I have to do is SIM tool, swap the SIM. As soon as I land, connects, registers a network, done. If it is an eSIM, I would have to TELUS, my carrier in Canada, has a different way of managing eSIMs. It's their own app. T-Mobile has a different way in the US. That's my carrier in the US. It's not going to transfer. It's not going to work. I'm going to be on an app at the airport in Wi-Fi, freaking out, being frustrated. No, none of that. You just have a SIM tool and you swap SIMs. You're done. That's the whole point of SIMs. To decouple.
And don't even get me started with switching from an iPhone to an Android or vice versa. They make it so complicated.
I don't even know how that works. The point I'm making is that this is a major faux pas on Google's part, and we joked about this last week, and I'll say it again. There will be a tombstone when I die that will say, died mad because of eSIM, with a SIM removal tool statue on top of my tombstone. I'm telling you right now. It's got me so riled up. Yeah. So
can't be stopped though. You know that's
there you go.
Can't be stopped.
No, I know it can't, but you know what? I can complain about it and this is the whole point of having this podcast in a way, right? I have a vehicle for making that abundantly clear to people, and I know it's not going to change anything, but I think enough of us complain. Maybe some phone companies will, the big ones will all switch, but I think when Chinese manufacturers start removing the SIM trays, that's when we were done.
I hope that we're safe with OnePlus for now. OnePlus, do not make any changes, please.
I think they won't because they're Oppo essentially, and again, in their biggest markets are India and China, where SIM trays are people switch service all the time, right? They might have multiple SIMs on different carriers because it's cheaper in one region, maybe where they work, the carrier is cheaper for data there than when they live and they commute, by train 2 hours every day or whatever. There's a whole bunch of reasons where I think, So I don't think we're going to see SIM trays disappear from Chinese phones or Chinese manufacturers, not Chinese sold in China phones. I'm talking about Chinese phones sold abroad in general, global phones yet. But yeah, it's inevitable. But here's the thing, right? I think I'll be less mad when there is a universal way to transfer SIMs very easily, eSIMs very easily between Android devices, like at the Google Core OS Android level.
And no internet access needed.
And it's compatible, like Messages and RCS is compatible now with Apple. You know, when it's compatible with iPhone too, when everybody sits down and agrees and says, okay, let's handshake this thing. Let's make sure that the carriers, the manufacturers are all using the same thing. And it's baked into the OS. You don't have to install an app. You don't have to do anything, right? That I think will be when the day you can tap a phone to another phone, NFC and transfer an eSIM.
Oh, wow. That would be amazing.
I mean, look, if that was the case, I would not be mad about lack of SIM tray. But you know, you still have to have battery life. You still have to turn on your phone, but you wouldn't need any signal or anything. Assuming the eSIMs are provisioned, and I understand that's my big assumptions here, right? Like the same as my example on the plane. The SIMs are physical in my example, but they're already active and provisioned. I'm not starting something new here. But assuming that you have two, I can't physically hold them, but two eSIMs. So let's do two eSIMs in the cloud out there. And you have some credentials to access them. It'd be nice to be able to, for transfer at least, one phone to another, just tap. And, you know, of course, you'd have to be in the right menu because you don't want to randomly tap, right? But you'd have to be in the right menu. You'd have to authenticate with your fingerprint or your Face ID or whatever. Like there'd be some kind of thing there, right? But this is not a technical problem we can solve. The problem I have with eSIM right now is that it's poorly implemented, it's not standardized, and more importantly, it is a lock-in by the carriers. That is the end goal here.
Yeah.
This is the big problem, and I've always been a big fan of I buy all my phones unlocked. I think you should all buy your phones unlocked. The whole concept that the service that lives in the SIM or eSIM is physically decoupled, and with eSIM it's no longer physically decoupled from the terminal. The phone itself is a absolute foundational part of GSM standard. Like we're breaking that with eSIM.
Absolutely.
And that is, for me, that is a principle that I'm going to stick to. The fact that we're breaking a standard that is where the service is completely decoupled from the device. I could go on.
Yeah, it's definitely an anti-consumer, like you mentioned before, and it needs to be stopped.
I don't think
I was with T-Mobile. I changed from T-Mobile for other reasons, but this is one of the benefits because I have a better, like it's not standardized, like you said. Every carrier has a different way of doing it. T-Mobile, I would have to every time I wanted to change phones, I had to call. And, or get on their chat or do something that I had to actually like reach out to them. Now I have Visible now it's a little easier. I can do it through the app. I don't have to actually talk to a person.
Yeah.
But it's still something, it's still an action that I have to do.
You can do it easily with Fi as well. Fi right now, apparently from what I hear, is the easiest to deal with because it even works between iPhones and Android. But again, you have to have a Fi app installed. That breaks it right there. Your phone needs to be on. You need data connectivity. You need to have the app installed. Like, tell me that opening a thing with a little SIM tool isn't easier. Anyway, let's talk quickly about these other news items we have on the queue here. So, I will put some links in the show notes. Remember, folks, this is also a reminder. Your podcast app, whatever you're using, will show you the show notes. It's essentially the description for the podcast. There are links in there. There are links that, I've got Michael Fisher's hands-on video of the Pixel 10 series. I got GSM Arena story on the Pixel Snap accessories, GSM Arena story on the Watch 4 and Buds 2A. I've got a roundup from Engadget where I used to work for all the stuff that was announced. So if you want to know everything in Pixel that we might not have covered, go there. Also in my podcast description are some affiliate links. So if you want to support me, consider those links. And so we have a few other things. Samsung announced a pair of affordable buds this week, the Galaxy Buds 3 Fan Edition, or FE. And they look like a kind of a redux, revisit, but cheaper, feature cut a little bit version of the 3 Pros, right? Is that kind of your take as well?
Yeah. I did take a look at the press release for those, and
$150.
I've never had a pair of Samsung Buds, but they were talking about this blade design that these new Buds have. I'm not
it's the
sure.
same design as the previous the Pros and the 3 Pro and the regular Buds 3. Yeah,
but
they look almost
I hear,
the same.
Yeah, they look almost the same, and I hear really good things about the Samsung Buds. Even you earlier were
I'm very happy with them,
about,
to be honest.
Yeah.
So
I
these,
think for the price, it's a pretty good value.
I'm gonna try to get a pair to review. They do have the squeeze gesture and the swipe gesture, which to me are the kind of the critical things. Just tapping doesn't do it for me, or even double tapping. I like to be able to squeeze for play pause. I like to be able to swipe for volume. They have ANC, and the price is pretty much right. Hopefully they sound decent. I'll keep you posted. The next thing we have is some leaks for the Oppo Find X9 Pro. This is the X9 is their flagship series. There is an X9 base, usually sometimes a Lite. Then there's an X9 Pro, which has all the good camera stuff. And then there's an X9. Well, it's not out yet. Right now all these are X8 right now, by the way. So there's an Ultra, is what I'm trying to say. The Ultra is is probably the best camera phone I've ever used in my life. I have a review that I filed with geekspin.co. Hope as soon as it's up, I'll let you know. It's incredible. It's kind of like the Pixel 10. You can zoom up to like 120x, 60x, and it looks incredible. So the Pro is kind of not quite as good as the Ultra, but it's coming soon, because generally the Pro and a regular X series phone, in this case the 9, is coming around the time the new Dimensity chip comes from MediaTek, the 9000 series. So we know that's coming in September sometime. So these phones should be announced in China around that time. And then we get the Ultra in the spring, usually like right after Mobile World Congress. And so the camera specs are out for this. And the only thing that really stands out here, again, this is rumors and leaks, so who knows, right? But the only thing that really stands out is that in the past, the Pro had 4 cameras in the back, right? It had like some kind of big ultra wide, a 50 megapixel main, large sensor with OIS and the whole shebang. The ultra wide would let you do macros as well. And then it would have a 3x telephoto and a 6x telephoto. So we'd have 2 telephotos, 3x, 6x. Large as well, 50 megapixel. So it's quad 50 megapixel or 48 megapixel. That's what they've done in the past. And the Ultra does all of that again, but the sensors are even bigger. But what's strange this time is that the rumors for the X9 Pro is that it has 3 rear cameras, but instead of having a 50 megapixel 3x and another 50 megapixel 6x, it's going to do what Vivo is doing and what Xiaomi is doing on their Ultra phones this year. 200 megapixel 3x. That's going to let them zoom to 6x. So they're saving a bit of money on the hardware. Well, that sense is probably more expensive, but overall you have less lenses, and it takes up less space inside the phone. So it's an interesting compromise, and it's kind of be interesting to see if they're going to do that with the Ultra as well, because right now the Ultra has 450 megapixel sensors that are completely bonkers in size. So for those of you who are like me, mobile photography fans, and you keep an eye on those Oppo phones, now you know potentially what's coming. What are your thoughts? Have you ever used any of these high-end Chinese camera phones?
No, I wish I did, but I do not have access to those phones. I mean, I could always buy them through like what's that site? Gizstop, and
right.
It's a few sites like that. But wow, it's just so much money,
they're expensive. Then like you don't get all the bands necessarily, and I mean, if you get you want to make
sure you buy a global version.
Yeah, you gotta get a global version. But even then, sometimes the bands don't work and stuff. And also, you know that the next year's model is going to be so much better. So why spend the money and then you're stuck with something that it's hard to resell? La la la. I hear you, but at the same time, if you ever get an opportunity to just borrow one or something from someone, try it out. It's really eye opening because they're so much better than what we think is a good camera phone. Yeah. And so
and at least with Oppo, it's so similar to what it means. It's OnePlus. It's basically
it's essentially exactly
the same thing.
This is going to basically be very similar to OnePlus 15. So it'll be interesting, maybe a little higher end than one for 15. So the next thing we have on the list is Redmi Note 15 Pro. And the only reason I bring this one up, Redmi is a sub-brand of Xiaomi that makes more affordable phones. The Note series from Redmi is always kind of like their flagship, affordable flagship in the Redmi lineup. It's generally a $300 to $400 phone that packs like 80% of the performance of a modern flagship. You don't get a flagship chip, you don't get a flagship display, you don't get a flagship camera system, but you get very, very close. And I always say that, like, for half the price of a flagship, you get 80% of a flagship experience with the Note series from Redmi. The only reason I brought this up is this is, again, a leak, a rumor. There's nothing concrete about it. But it mentions a chip that it's supposed to ship with, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 7S Gen 4, which has officially been announced. So, that's actually pretty exciting. And I think that, means that, there's a lot of phones out there with the Snapdragon 7 Gen 4. So now we have a 7S Gen 4 coming. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Yeah. And then the last one is kind of interesting because I've had a few Redmagic phones over the years. And, they're gaming phones. They're pretty cool. They always have a fan, which spins at like some crazy 15,000, 20,000 RPM and cools down the phone. And it's very effective for thermals. Great stuff. But rumor is that phone is going to be IP68. And I'm like, wait, there's a fan, it's IP68. So this is not the first. Oppo has a K something series in China right now, which is a kind of a gaming centric phone that has a fan and is water resistant as well. So I think we're at the verge of having water resistant phones with fans. That's what this news item is about.
Yeah, I wonder how they're doing that. That's
well, I think what they're doing is the fan is actually going to be able to be immersed and run in water safely. But the rest of the phone is sealed. Because remember, you just need to cool, right? So the fan needs to sit on top of the cooling system for the phone. If that, if that is water resistant, the cooling stuff is, anything below the fan basically is sealed. But sealed, so the air, it's air cooling, right? So as long as so the fan will probably stop as soon as it detects water because of, it'll damage the motor because of the difference in density between air and water. It's going to put a lot of effort to move that water around. But I think what happens, plus you get water cooling at that point. Well, right? so might as well. No, but my point is, I think what's happening here is that the fan itself is able to be submerged and it stops running when it's underwater. And then as soon as it's dry again, it works again. And that solves the problem. So I think that's an interesting solution. As a tech nerd, I'm like, okay, maybe we can have fans on our phone. The other phone that's rumored to be water resistant, resistant is a big word here, but IP68, but also has a fan, is the Huawei Mate 80 series. We talked about that, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. So again, this is why I brought up this Redmagic. And this might be something we finally get in North America, a phone that's a gaming phone with gaming phone performance, that's affordable, that's IP68 and has a fan.
Okay,
cool.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
I know. Listen, we should wrap up, JoJo. Do you want to tell folks where they can find you on the internet? Like all your various handles, where your YouTube lives and all that stuff.
Yeah, I am JoJo The Techie in every single platform. So I'm mostly on Threads, but I'm also on X and I'm on Instagram and on TikTok. Rarely, but I do have an account there. But you can see all my articles at PhoneArena.com. I am one of the senior writers there. So that's where I spend most of my time.
You should absolutely read JoJo's stuff on PhoneArena and check out our YouTube channel. There's some really good content there. And then
talk about my own channel.
Go for it.
YouTube.com, JoJo The Techie. JoJo The Techie is the name of the channel.
There you go. So definitely check out the YouTube, check out PhoneArena, check out the social media. I'm on Threads as well. So if you want to talk with both of us, talk to us on Threads. My handle on social is Tankgrl, TNKGRL, everywhere. It's like the comic book character Drop the Vowel. So I'm on Twitter very reluctantly. I am mostly on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram. I just created a TikTok account. I'm not going to give you the handle just yet because I'm still trying to decide on the name. I haven't finalized it yet, but look for Tankgrl and then additional stuff at the end. And when you find the content, it'll make a lot of sense because you'll see my face and stuff. But I'm not quite ready to promote it super yet, but I've decided that it's time for me to join the TikTok evil empire. I will never look at anybody else's videos over there, but I think that to promote the podcast, I do need to have a TikTok and do some short content there. So I'm doing it, guys. It's happening. Also, the podcast lives at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the major platforms. So please, if it's your first time here, because JoJo took you here, subscribe. If your app lets you rate or review the show, please consider doing that. There's a YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You'll see some hands-on videos, occasionally some unboxings, and also some extracts from the podcast. I grab the best parts and for example, in this case, there'll probably be something about eSIM ranting because, that sounds like fun. But yeah, stuff like that on the YouTube. youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, all that good stuff. Comment. There you go. Heart. And then do that also on JoJo's, okay? And then, of course, there's my Patreon, patreon.com/TNKJRL. That is where you can support me. Right now, it's very basic. There is the opportunity to get a video version of this podcast a day in advance every week for $5 a month. A day in advance every week for $5 a month. Super simple, straightforward. So if you want to support me, that's the place to go. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. So as you know, I'm constantly reviewing multiple phones, and while that's fun, it also means I'm constantly spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. That's where Mint Mobile comes in, and that's who I'm partnering with for today's podcast. If you also want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. As tech-savvy early adopters, you've probably heard of Mint Mobile before, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around and waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM free of charge. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link mintmobile.com/mobiletech to get premium wireless starting for $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/mobiletech. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And JoJo, thanks so much for joining me on this insane Pixel 10 adventure today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Lovely. I loved it.
Absolutely. We'll have you on again in the future. And folks, we'll have a podcast next week with all the more details of actually using the Pixel 10 and stuff. So stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.